Hello and welcome to Planet 40k. Today we're going to check out how effective the CANOPTEK SCARAB swarms are from the Necron Codex. So guys, before we get stuck into the review, we're slowly building up the channel, but there's still 61% of viewers that watch our videos that have yet to subscribe to the channel. We're looking to get 2,500 subs by Christmas, which would be magic. A lot of work goes into these, so we'd really appreciate if you can hit that sub button below. That way you're not going to be missing out on any future content. We are dropping 40k videos Monday to Friday at present, but we do need your help to elevate the channel, so thanks to everyone who's doing that right now, and to those who are already subbed, you guys are legends. Let's keep building. Feel free to share the videos on Twitter too, we don't bite, honest. Okay, let's get plugged in then. So the CANOPTEK SCARAB swarms, so I'm just going to refer to them as scarabs from the remainder of the video. These guys are found in the fast attack area of the Codex. They can fit into any dynasty you pick from. They're swarm units, they can fly, and they've got the CANOPTEK keyword. So being able to fly is really good, as you can virtually go anywhere and hide. And if you haven't seen the models in person yet, they're almost flat to the base. The new Indominus models are slightly raised, but they're still pretty flat, meaning hiding them is a piece of cake. Then that CANOPTEK keyword is also really good for synergy with characters and stratagems. Okay, so they're power level 2, which will get you 3 models for a unit. Then basically adding an additional 3 models will cost you 2 more power level, and the same again if you want it to go to 9 models. If you want to play points, they're 15 points a model, so 45 points for a min score of 3 of these guys. So moving on to the datasheet side of things, they've got the following stats: movement 10 inch, weapon skill 4+, ballistic skill dash, strength 3, toughness 3, wounds 4, attacks 4, leadership 10 and a 6+ save. So they're pretty nimble, quite weak, but lots of wounds to irritate your opponent with. T-shirt 6+ armor saves, but a fair amount of attacks though. Okay, so they come stock with standard abilities guys, so I think you know them by now. So I'm just going to briefly mention them. Living Metal, which is quite nice, because it never used to work with CANOPTEK units, and now it does. Reanimation Protocol's not so nice, as your scarabs are 4 wounds apiece, so you're going to be rolling 4 lots of 5+s to reanimate one single base, so not great odds for doing that. Then also Command Protocols, which is your army buff each battle round, providing you've got a noble on the board and you're within 6 inches of a character. So there isn't any unique abilities for this unit unfortunately, so let's get stuck into the war gear. So they come armed with Feeder Mandibles, which is a melee weapon, strength user making it strength 3, no AP, and single damage. Each time an attack is made with this weapon on an unmodified hit roll of a 6, it automatically wounds the target. So it's not quite packing the punch of the old editions where they tore land raiders to shreds. The older players will know what I mean here. These things used to be plain nasty. But now 6 is auto wound, so let's get doing some maths then and work out exactly how effective these mandibles are and against what. So let's run this on a min score of 3 models. If you want the maths for a 6 model unit or a 9 model unit, then simply double the outcomes for 6 and triple it for 9. In fact, I might just put a table in the side, save you having to do that. But 3, 2, 1, bang, there you go. If only I could type all that in that amount of time, these videos would be so much easier to do. Okay, so on a min score of 3 scarabs then, with 4 base attacks each, gives you 12 attacks. Hitting on 4s mean you're going to be missing half of those on average, so you're going to be left with approximately 6 hits there. Statistically, one of those 6 hits will be a 6, so this is going to auto wound. So let's take that one out and put it in the wound pool for now. 5 more hits. So these guys are only attacking at strength 3, so you're wounding on 4s against toughness 3 models. So you're only going to get between 2 and 3 wounds on average there. And of course you add that 6 that you put in the pool earlier, totaling about 3 or 4 wounds on average there. Wounding toughness 5 and 6 models on 5s, to approximately 1 or 2 wounds there, and again adding that 6 from earlier, giving you about 2 or 3. Toughness 6 onwards, you're going to need 6s, which is quite desperate measures if you're doing this. You'd be quite unlucky to not pick up a single wound, and then add in the one that you got from the pool earlier, so you're going to get 2 on average at best. So damage wise, not that great, and with no AP and only single damage, don't expect a lot of hurt to be dished out here. So if you're a new Necrons player, you're probably thinking, why would I take these guys? Awful stats, awful damage output. Each scarab costs 2 points more than a warrior. So I'll let you in on a little secret guys, these scarabs will simply win you games. 9th edition is an objective heavy game. It's not all about killing stuff anymore. It's all about holding and snatching objectives. So these scarabs are one of the best units in the Codex for doing that sort of stuff. Being quick and having a lot of wounds and being extremely easy to hide is incredibly strong. They'll have no trouble staying out of sight, and even when they are spotted by your enemy units, they need to throw a lot of firepower at them to shift them, as a min score of 3 of them even has 12 wounds. Not only that, due to the good amount of wounds that this unit has, they can quickly sprint and tie up an enemy unit that is a threat to your more damage dealing models. Even just using them as bodyguards for things like a Doomsday Archer or a Doomstalker is really helpful to prevent them from getting caught in combat. So there's multiple uses for these little scarabs. So let's check out some synergy then. So a technomancer can put on its Canoptek cloak and heal D3 lost wounds each turn. Or they can +1 to the hit rolls for your scarabs using the Canoptek control node, making your scarabs hitting on 3s. The Technomancer also has access to Arcana, so the fail-safe overcharger gives Canoptek units within 9 inches an additional attack, so you can now be 5 attacks each hitting on 3s, which is approximately now 10 hits on average rather than 6 on a min unit. You can actually get this to 6 attack space with a stratagem, which we'll go over in a bit. Hypermaterial Ablator is another Arcana that is also a 9-inch range from a Canoptek unit. It gives your scarabs the benefits of cover if they're shot at from more than 12 inches away with a ranged weapon. Probably won't need this as you're most likely be hiding in cover anyway, but it's worth a mention. A Chronomancer is also a solid assistant to your scarabs, as you can use the Chronomatron ability, so it not only lets you reroll charge rolls, but it also grants your unit a 5+ invuln save, which is better than your 6+ armor save of course. The reroll to charge is handy if you want to tie up some other units, and then the 5+ invuln is added to your resiliency. Canoptek spiders are an obvious synergy here, so those spiders have an ability called Scarab Hive, where in the command phase you can regain a lost scarab base for a scarab swarm within 6 inches of your spider. You don't have to roll for it, you don't have to reanimate it, you just get it. That's 15 points a turn, which is pretty sweet. And also spiders in this codex are quite top notch, so check out our Canoptek spider review if you haven't already. I'll leave a link in the top right corner if you haven't. It's one of the book's hero units this edition. So those spiders can also repair vehicles such as Doomsday Arcs. So if you wanted to use your scarabs as a defense wall for your arc in a corner of the table, then having a spider to fix and repair the arc and also bring back scarabs is a really nice little combo there. Also, the spider will defend the arc like a boss with its strength 8 claws. Preferably do this combo on an objective where you can, as it's a lot of points not to be scoring objectives with. So looking at some dynasty codes, we don't need to go into the Mefrit code as you've not got any ranged weapons. The Zwaarkan dynasty and the Sautek dynasty don't really offer much for your scarabs, so we're going to ignore those two. The Novak code is quite a tidy one for your scarabs, because not only does it give you a +1 to your charge roll, but it also gives you a much needed -1 AP modifier to your mandibles if you charged, were charged, or heroically intervened. The Novak code also has a stratagem for 1 CP called Blood Rights, which also grants you another attack, so that's how you get 6 attacks guys, combining it with a Technomancer's failsafe overcharger with the stratagem Blood Rights. That's 6 attacks hitting on 3s when using the Canoptek node. The Nefrit code gives you a 6+ invuln save, so any weapons that have an AP now isn't going to go straight through your armor if you've got an invuln save. It also gives you a straight 6 advance roll. The translocate part isn't that important as you've already got fly. This code also has a stratagem called Translocation Crypt for 1 CP, so it would give a unit deep strike. It might not be all that useful for scarabs because they're quick enough, but it's worth a mention here. The Nihilak code grants objective secured. Always great on a fast attack unit which can go kamikaze in and denying your opponent from scoring primary objectives, which is usually virtually 5 victory points a pop, possibly another 5 if your opponent now doesn't control more than you do. You'll most likely be conceding your scarabs, but it's sometimes worth it. If you do go custom with your dynasty, then from the dynastic traditions list you can go for Eternal Conquerors for the objective secured. You can go for Rad Reeves, which means you'll be wounding toughness 4 models on 4s, not 5s, as you're knocking their toughness down a peg. Unyielding for that 6+ invuln save, or Butchered for that +1 to your charge roll. And then looking at the circumstances of Awakening list, Ancient Stir gives you +1 to your movement, which makes your already pretty quick Canoptek units go that much quicker. They also get to pile in and consolidate an extra inch too. Relentlessly Expansionist is huge for these guys, to get them into a hiding spot or getting them towards an early objective. So out of the custom codes, I'd probably pair Eternal Conquerors with Relentlessly Expansionist, as I want to use them as objective stealers and I'd want to do this by turn 2 at least. So moving into stratagems within the book, Enslaved Protectors for 1 CP lets your Canoptek units heroically intervene as if they were a character. Very handy to tie up an enemy model. So there's one stratagem that is specifically made for your scarabs, which is called Self-Destruction, which is 1 CP. So when you select a swarm to fight in the fight phase, pile in first, then pop the stratagem, then simply select an enemy unit within engagement range of your scarabs. Roll a d6, and on anything from a 2 to a 5, the enemy will suffer d3 mortal wounds, and if you roll a 6, it's a flat 3 mortal wounds. Then of course one of your scarab bases is destroyed. So against an elite army that's pretty good. It's also nice if you've got a scarab base that's not on its full wounds. Maybe one's on 1 wound remaining, so blow him up, dish out the damage, then a spider nearby will bring him back. So that's Scarabs in a nutshell. So to summarise these guys, they're very quick, easy to hide, score you tons of points, whether it's in your own deployment zone or stealing your opponent's objectives in theirs. Lots of wounds, which is going to take a lot of gunfire to clear. Points for points, a really good unit. They can't dish out much hurt, and they don't really serve much other purposes other than screening off for your heavy supports or nabbing objectives. But I can't emphasise enough how important those two roles are in this edition. The synergy with the Cryptex, as we mentioned, is really good. And also with the spiders, that's a combo that I use in most games now with the spiders. They work with quite a lot of dynasties, so they're quite versatile when list building. Obviously don't build an entire list around these guys, just see them as pawns in a chess game effectively. They are very important, but they're expendable. As for the rating, I'm going to be giving the CANOPTEK Scarabs a Planet 40k rating of 4 out of 5. Now part of me wanted to push for a 4.5, but of course we need to remember that they don't have any damage output. They've got toughness 3 with a 6+ armor save. They are expendable like I said, but I would still argue that points for points they're well above average for what your goal is in the game, which is ultimately scoring points. So guys, let me know what you think of the review. If you could all start putting your rating in the comments, that would be really cool just to see where the community is going with the unit. Even pro players are learning new tricks and combos every day. So let's help our Necron community out by building some dialogue in the comments. Remember to hit that like button on the way out. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.